it's saying something and it's typing something. What do you say?
Stream's live.
Hey, yo.
Sure it's all
Make sure I'm not that loud, because last campfire chat I think I was a little bit loud over you when I checked out the VOD.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that after the fact. It was because I had the new setup, and the audio mixer was out of whack on the desktop audio. So yeah, you were way louder. But let me...
I could like sniff and you'll be like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, hold on. While I make sure this is all working, I guess I can ping everybody. This is the 30th. Ooh, boy.
30th? Oh, campfire chat, yeah.
Yep. And then let me unlock the room. Okay, people can speak.
Yeah.
Although the Twitch stream says 29th or 28th because I, for some reason, don't have the Twitch docs on OBS. I did reactivate those somehow.
People are speaking.
Alright, now it says 30th, but it's going to save as the 28th for some reason because that's how they roll. Maurice says he added a banana to Endless Sky. Okay, okay.
When?
Endless Sky X Balatra. We've added a Cavendish. I can faintly hear notification sounds on your end, Sog.
Wait, really? I don't know why. Like, my headset's getting worse and worse. I think I need a new one because it's like it's leaking more sounds somehow.
It definitely sounds like you're on a different mic than usual. I'll tell you that. So I don't know if it's just the wrong.
Hey, I found out.
That's way better. That is way better. And let me just.
You need to turn me down.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta turn you down now.
I have my mic is pointing towards the ceiling.
Oh.
Oh, my headset. I didn't realize I wasn't down.
All right. A bit of a scuffed intro there. I'm gonna be honest. I was distracted by a pull quest before starting this, and I was like, "Oh wait, I gotta get some water and go to the bathroom first." When is the forklift coming? Asks, whose rock is this? Not sure.
When you tell us whose rock it is.
Yeah. When you figure out whose rock it is. Maurice asks, what the heck are we doing with the Incipias? Not sure.
Incapias.
Incapias. The
Something like
Inkies. What are we doing with the squids? That's what they are, right?
I mean, as things are right now, I believe the original creator is no longer part of the project, so they're kind of up for grabs for whoever wants to like take a look at the PR and see what all was planned for them and do some development on them.
Yep. All right, I didn't even do a proper intro. Hello. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 30th Campfire chat with the developers of the hit indie game Endless Sky. We do these once a month, first Saturday of every month, and it's just a place for people to show up and ask questions and have us talk about how development's going. I guess before we start hitting up all the questions here, a reminder that there is a submission box that you can submit questions to guarantee that we'll read them, or if you are not present during the live streams, you can put them in there and we'll read them during the live stream. There's only 6 right now, so if you have a question and you want to make sure it gets answered, put it in now. Otherwise, we'll just be reading the Discord chat, and I'll occasionally be glancing over at the Twitch chat. Usually we start with news, and I guess there is some big news. There was this update. Have you heard of it?
Update?
Yeah.
But what do you mean update?
11.0. If you're only on Stable, the Stable branch on Steam, or GOG, or you don't download the unstables off of GitHub, then yeah, you wouldn't. Nothing would have changed. But if you do play on the beta branch, how have people been liking the update? You've had a week to check it out. SirDerpyHorse says it's Campfire time already. Yeah, same time every month. It's hard to miss. Warp says hardly big news. We do these 3 times a year. A draft shrimp says update was bad. That's crazy. Any further news to be had about the Republic side of the Civil War? Warp says no. Still in development. Still in the works.
Still waiting for feedback. It's busy time of the year for some people.
Yep. I've been busy working on these pull quests, man. I don't know what to tell you. Down to 68 right now. Let's go.
Yeah, it's crazy. If it ever gets to 50.
I'm gonna do it, dude. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna happen. I don't know if I actually have 50 lined up to review, but
I thought you were gonna say 50 lineup to open. It's like, don't do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it back up to 100. That's way easier than getting it down to 50.
We got a new pull request, new successor campaign continuation that I'd like to look at eventually.
Yeah.
Get more into that when the questions. We get to questions. So.
Lucatron says it seems like there's a button missing on the right side of the planet screen. And Warp says no, there's just an extra one on the left. Yeah, it used to be there was 4 on the left, 4 on the right. Now there's 5 on the left, 4 on the right. But we wanted to still keep them even with one another, so there's just an empty spot. We'll probably fill it at some point. But yeah, right now there's nothing.
I still think it should be a map. It could be a map button, but I think I saw Zobes, who added the other button, was thinking about it being something for multipliers again. I'm not sure.
Oh no, that's a different. That's in the shop.
Okay.
I think he's referring to the planet panel. Like we added player info on the left side.
Yeah, I think when we last talked about that, it was something to do with the map. We thought maybe we just put a map button there or something, but to make it even again. Although I kind of don't mind there being a space there, because the depart key being separate from everything kind of.
Yeah, I did think about that. It makes it harder to accidentally depart.
Yeah.
Just by having all the empty space around it. Banana with 895 attack and 675 defense. This outfit cannot be plundered. Good. I wouldn't want anybody else getting their hands on this.
The banana that makes you slip and then jump around the ship like a Looney Tunes style, then fly out the airlock.
Super ball. Bouncing off all the walls, knocking everyone out as you go.
Yeah.
Baby Machine, 24/7 Baby Machine, odd name. I don't think there was actually, this was actually added in the last update, but is there a way to have preferences set so that when you enter an outfitter, it doesn't even ask if you want to refill ammo? No, but we could. That is not a preference at the moment, but we could make it one. I guess the options would be ask me, always accept, or never ask me, something like that. Because I imagine some people would want it to always just automatically refill, whereas other people would be like, no, I don't want it to ever ask me. I want to just always manually do it. We could definitely do that.
I don't. People might, like, if they don't do that right, they might, like, forget that it's turned off and then not have ammo for a fight, but I guess that's on them.
Yeah, that's on them. The default would still be what it is now, where it asks you. And if you are... Yeah, intentionally going out of your way to change that behavior, then you should remember that. I mean, it used to be that we never had that pop up in the first place, I believe.
Yeah. I'm just saying it, just for the sake of it. Sometimes we get user errors.
I installed 50 mods that explicitly do not work with each other, and everything broke. Can we look at the terrible questions asked for? Okay, sure. We'll go to the submitted question, so I'm not looking at Discord now. The first one, first one asks, for the faction/species developers, What's your biggest regret you wish you could change about your species if you still could? Well, here's a little secret. We still can. Like, there's nothing stopping us from just changing things. As for the target audience of the question, most of us here haven't actually added species to the game. I mean, I have and you have, Sog, but
You have
otherwise...
and I have.
Do we have anybody else here who's actually added one? I don't think so. No.
It doesn't look like it. No.
And
So,
Warp says there's only 4.
do you have any regrets with the Bunradia?
No.
Okay. I
Do
think my
you
regret
with
is
the-
not seeing them have more stuff. But for
Eh.
for
We'll
my
get there.
faction, parenthesis S, because technically the relay is one. It's kind of a hard question because I liked Gegno and I really want to get into the relay stuff too eventually. So I can't really say I have any regrets without having tried or having had like progressed them that much. But I think I'd probably do something a little bit cooler than just orcs. I wanted to do orcs and, well, technically the original idea, for those who don't know, with the Gegno was the Vi would be orcs, the Sin would be goblins. There wouldn't be a civilian faction. And then there'd be a third alien faction that controls over the whole area, and that would have been the relay. And it would have been like playing them as pawns or something against each other, kind of like the Pug. But that moved quite a bit of ways from that to what it is now, where it's like kind of orcs. The Sin are like a little bit orcish, but they're a bit more goblinish. And there's like a whole civilian population now. And then the factions are like outside of that. And the relay are like completely different. They're not like this active high tier faction. They're like ancient, long gone, but there will be more stuff on them. So I guess that's my regret, is not regret, but if I could change something about them, I might make it more interesting than humanoid orcs. Make something, I don't know. It kind of like goes hand in hand, because Gegno are humanoids, but then the relay, I mean, you guys don't know what they are, but I do, and they're definitely not anything on the planet of Earth. Well, I mean, kind of, but we'll see.
Hand.
Yeah. That's for Go ahead, sorry.
Nothing. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, we can change what the factions are in the game right now, but I don't know about fully rewriting them into something different.
Yeah, I mean, technically we could, but if we are going to, that's a different question.
Yeah. Warp asks if aren't orcs already humanoid? Yeah, that's what I meant. I'd like to
He's
do
referring
something.
to the relay.
Yeah, I was saying the relay are the definitely not humanoid ones.
Yeah. All right. Next question: why was High Reveal removed? Have you read the announcement? The TLDR is that it was added several years ago now. Warp says don't tell them. But in any case, the state it was in actually conflicted with the story of other storylines in the game. And the odds of those things being addressed anytime soon are pretty slim. So really, it's a decision we probably should have made a long time ago, but we just only now got around to it. So that's why it's gone. Then the next question, probably from the same person, although it was posted 10 hours later, 11 almost. Will the Bunradia be removed? Nope. The reason that High Reveal was removed wasn't strictly because of the fact that it wasn't being worked on or added to. It was the fact that it conflicted with things. The Bunradia, just because they're not being worked on, doesn't mean we're going to remove them. Same with the Incipias or Incapias, however you want to pronounce it. And especially with alien factions, leaving a alien faction in the game without a lot of content being added to it or any content being added to it is not as negative as leaving a storyline in the game that remains unfinished for a long time, because it's like some of the factions in the game now are ones that MZ added and then never added to after we added them. Like the Remnant and the Coalition. He added them to the game and then never really added more.
Mhm.
But then those eventually got picked up by other content creators as a canvas for them to work with. So in a similar way, tying back to the question earlier that somebody asked about the Incipias, it's like, yeah, it's a blank canvas now. Like, if somebody wants to go in and work with it, then go for it.
Mhm. I like using the Remnant as an example just because if anyone ever asks how much their species needs to get into vanilla, I kind of remember that the Remnant, when they first were added to the game, at least on the branch that they were on, maybe not in a live update, didn't have any unique sound effects. They used reused projectile weapons. I think at one point the Albatross had particle cannons on it. I could be wrong.
No.
But no?
I think they
swear
always
they
had the outfits, but when they were added, the outfits had no sprites. And they had unique projectiles,
They probably had different sounds.
but the sound effects were definitely reused.
Yeah. But yeah. So Incapias, kind of Bunradia if you ask him.
I mean, both the Bunradia and the Incapias are kind of in the same boat, where it's like they were added with the bare minimum, practically speaking, and then they just haven't been added to.
Yeah.
So if not inviting everybody to go out and make their own alien faction now, but if that was going to happen, that somebody would make a new alien faction, then it doesn't actually take a super large amount of... We're not looking for everything. We're not looking for a full storyline. Really what we want is you have your systems in place, you have your ships and outfits. We used to... like we said with the Remnant, it used to be the case like sometimes factions would be added, they didn't even have outfit images. I would say that's probably a requirement now that you have outfit images, but so the requirements are a little higher there. But then you also want to have some idea of a storyline, some idea of background lore. So, and that needs to be available. Like, you want to be able to tell people, like, hey, here's what the lore is, here's what this story idea is, so that if you do disappear off the face of the earth, or you do decide to stop contributing, then there is something there for other people to pick up and run with.
That, or at the very least, like, have some overall outline or plot for the story. So, like, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. Have an idea of what you want for the faction beyond just the intro content in the PR, because we don't want to get into a case where it's like, oh, we love the faction, merge it into the game, and then a whole bunch of other ideas presented that are like wacky or like really odd in the sky, and then that might like break the game. And if it's not like going to go into vanilla, then that might be a little bit confusing, or not confusing, but like difficult for the contributor to work with. I can't talk today, sorry. So yeah, if you ever want to make a species, like, have an idea of what maybe not A to Z is, but like A to B.
Yeah.
Have an idea of like the plot at least, or what you'd like to do with it. Can I read this comment in the voice chat, or not chat, the text channel real quick?
From Kyra?
Before we get to the next question?
Or Kyra?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Kyar, who has Kyakimaru as their profile pic. If you know who that is.
Wouldn't know.
Kyar says, hey, big fan of Endless Sky. Used to play EV Override and a little bit of Nova back in the day. So when I found Endless Sky years ago, I was thrilled. Anyways, I'm someone who loves to create content for the game, but I'm more of a writer and have to admit I'm a bit intimidated by the rest of the content creation process. So my question is this. If I wrote a series of missions and details in a clean, understandable format, using something like Twine or a whole lot of Google Docs or similar word processor files, something that went as far as creating a new faction, and we were just talking about that, new systems, etc. Is it possible I could then work with someone to get all the other moving parts, art assets and such, built into the game? They say they browsed some documentation on building things like plugins. Is there documentation on this? Focus solely on writing in a format to follow without getting too bogged down in the game dev aspect of things like ship stats, etc. Sorry if this is the wrong question, and if there's an obvious place you could find these answers. Thanks for reading your big block of text. You're welcome. So actually, we do have some documentation. There was actually some recent documentation added into, or is that still a PR for?
That's still a pull request.
Still pull request. Okay, so there's in-work documentation
Yeah.
for writing formats for like missions and such.
Yeah, there's there are certain requirements like American English, not British English for writing. Certain well, the one thing, I don't know if I put it in there, but like a good rule of thumb is like this isn't a novel. This is a video game. So you actually want to be concise with your writing. You don't want to like that doesn't mean you can't have like certain sections of a mission where you have like a lot of description about something, but it shouldn't be the case that a single mission involves like 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes worth of reading in it. Individual missions, individual conversations should probably not take you more than a few minutes to read through. Most of the time, at least. Unless like it's a super big story event that's happening, and it's like, oh, let's add some detail here, kind of add to it. But as far as the question of getting somebody else to help you out, as Warp says, that's completely fine. And in fact, I know that's happened with a fair few missions that have been added to the game where there's somebody who writes the mission, but they don't actually have enough of an understanding about how missions are structured in our data syntax. So they just hand the writing off to somebody else who does know how to write missions, and they just format it properly to be able to get it into the game. And then, for example, the we were talking about the Bunradia. That's an alien faction that's in the game that I opened the pull quest for. I did the writing for and everything, but the artwork was all Becca on that. I didn't do any of the artwork.
Yeah, I did a little bit.
Yeah, you helped out too. Yeah.
I did.
I forgot about
that.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's. I mean, the whole game itself is a collaborative effort. So it would definitely be stupid for us to say like, oh, if you're opening a pull quest, it has to be just you. Like, no, everything, everywhere is collaborative. Even when it gets down to the point where a pull quest is opened, the actual process of reviewing that and getting that into the game is also a collaborative process. We have people who will review like, oh, the artwork, like they'll comment on the artwork, or they'll comment on the writing, or they'll comment on the balance of things, and then through the review process, the actual content you've created will be tweaked and changed to fit the game.
Yeah. I do want to give you a cookie for your focus on this, because a lot of people, when it comes to like making alien factions in the game, this is a broken record, the only thing they care about, or mostly care about, are the ships, the weapons, the balancing, and all the fun stuff like that. Meanwhile, you're saying, I don't really know how to do any of that. Someone else could do that. But it's good that you're interested in like the story aspect of the game, because that's the most important part when making a new species or trying to fit something else into the game. Let me scroll back up to the message again. So I think if you're interested in making a faction or a story in the game, I'm assuming it's the faction because that's what you said, something that went as far as creating one. My advice to you would definitely just be ask around. Discord, GitHub, or even just look at examples of existing species, because what you want to do is get a good idea of what fits in the game and what doesn't. So, like, for example, if you're going to add a tier 4 species to the game that rivals the Archons, that's probably not going to fit in the game.
It's definitely not going to fit in the game, I'll tell you.
No,
that.
It's definitely not. There's like things like that. Like, try not to avoid high-tech species number 10, or something that pulls humanity into yet another region. I mean, I guess small human connections is fine, but when I first made the Gegno, it's kind of like an unspoken rule, and what some other creators were telling me, this could be true, it could not be true, is generally you want to keep the amount of interactions with a species to other species to be around like 3 or 4 without going higher than that, so you have something manageable to work with, and so other species and like other content in the game doesn't need to keep track of interactions with yours. So best I could say is ask around, look around. And we definitely have people who would love to make art. I know I do. Becca loves making art. We have a couple of new artists as well. Dairy is working on the successors. Gefu has been around. He's done a lot.
Relatively new, but hasn't she still been around for a few years at this point?
Who, Dairy?
Yeah.
She just opened a PR for the successors campaign.
Yeah, but you said new artists.
Oh, well, yeah. There's a lot of people making art in the channels as well, but
yeah.
We're not short of people who would love to help you out with writing something like that. It's all about getting it molded well enough to see if it can fit with the game. So another recommendation I always tell people is, and everyone also hears this all the time, is make a plugin first. Even if you don't intend for it to be like released as a plugin, like people would generally like download or not download, I guess download, and play with the game. Just put it on its own little folder and stuff like that. Put it in its one little location and just test it out until you get something that you like. Share it around again, and then maybe PR it someday. Respect the tiers. Okay, good. that's important. Highest would be slightly above exiles. Above, sorry, above. I mean, maybe. Not sure. Thank you for your awesome answers. You're welcome. Also, yeah, EV. Same here. I started with EV Override. I had it on a floppy disk. Makes me sound old, but I'm not.
I did not start with EV Override. I started with Endless Sky.
No one cares about EV. You don't care about EV.
That's crazy.
This is warp.
Yeah. Some additional tips and tricks from my end. One, I'm hoping you've actually played through the whole game, or at least most of it. I feel like there's people who sometimes show up and they play like a little bit of the game, and then they're like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing, I want to contribute to this. Then they don't have any understanding of the game. So the stuff they try to contribute is like way off base.
Yeah.
And then two, if you do actually get around to opening pull requests to contribute to the base game, I would say start small. There have been a number of cases over it's been more than a decade at this point.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's a decade this month ago that I first downloaded the game. And then in a month, like almost a month minus 1 day, on March 6th is when I made my GitHub account 10 years ago. So I've been here for a decade, all right? I've seen some things. And there's definitely been people who they get super hyped about contributing to the game, and then they'll open like a massive pull request out of nowhere. Like, we didn't even know they were interested, but they just showed up and they're like, hey, here's my big storyline that I want to work on. Or here's a alien faction. And it's like, well, we only just met you, dude. Like, this is going to take a bit. And then with their first suggestion or their first pull request doesn't get merged for whatever reason, and they just instantly get burnt out. Which is not the way to go. Like, I see the energy some of these people have, and if these people could, like, you know, refine their energy a bit more, refine their output, then they'd be great assets to the team, but they just have this very, I don't know, very high expectations, I guess, of like, oh, I'm going to be able to do something, it's going to be able to get in so quickly, and then I'm just going to keep doing more and more and more and more, and it's like, no, you have to work with people here, all right? And that's, I mean, I guess that's number 3, you have to work with people. Like I said, it's a collaborative effort. Everything is a hobby project here for everybody. That means you have to work with everyone else. You can't just slam through whatever random idea you have. So you need to be willing to change what you work on. Even if it's a bigger change. Like, you definitely need to be willing to change what you have worked on.
Yeah, and that generally translates to if everybody wants to add their own alien faction to the game, it's probably going to conflict with everybody else's idea of something like that. So we try and have at least a base idea of what might fit or what might not. Yeah, be flexible. That's literally the best quality you can have for adding something to the game, is be flexible, be ready to change something at the last second to be drastically different than it was a second ago.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to work with it, but...
Quick response to 24/7. Right now, demanding tribute opens what seems to be a first-time help dialogue, forcing you to click OK, not even enter works. This happens every time you demand tribute, which makes dominating multiple planets more tedious because I have to grab my mouse. Can it be changed/fixed so that the first time you can just press a key to continue, and preferably one accessible by the left hand? If you hit the right arrow key, does that change the button that's selected? The reason that hitting enter does nothing is because there's no button that's actually selected. But if you hit the arrow key, that might rotate the selection onto one of the buttons, and then you can hit enter from there. You can tell it's selected because it'll start highlighting slightly, the text in the button, that is. So you might be able to hit like right or left, move the selection to OK, and then hit enter. At least that way you're not having to grab the mouse. As for getting rid of that, that might be another preference that we had. Because the reason that's there is because of how once you demand tribute from a faction, you completely ruin your reputation with them. We had a few cases where people were accidentally demanding tribute when they didn't mean to, like they hit the wrong button, or because like hailing a planet is T. Demanding tribute, I think, is also T. So if you double tap T, you would accidentally start a war.
I mean, you can always do save, but it's still a little annoying.
Yeah, but we didn't want people to have to do that.
I always thought it was going to be changed to not be, or to be first time help. I thought when that first came out, because it pops up every time you try and do it.
Yeah.
Wasn't the idea to make that just like on the first pop up though?
No, I think it was strictly like, hey, we want this to be always
Like
an
always,
are you sure
okay.
type of deal, just because of how impactful it is. Now,
it could be
granted,
like its
maybe we
own-
could remove it from if you're already hostile to the government you're demanding tribute from. I think it shouldn't show up. That's probably the case. And then that would help out with this case of you're demanding tribute from multiple planets, probably all from the same government, in which case, why would it keep warning you like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? This could make people really mad. It's like, I already made them super mad. I don't care. Just let me demand tribute.
Do that, or it could also be like its own preference, like hints, like turn off command tribute hint. Something like that.
I'm writing these down. Preference for ammo refilling, and the outfitter, and if you're hostile with a planet you're demanding tribute from, skip the dialogue. I'll look at those later today, probably. Richie says, to be fair, hailing planets to demand tribute is usually the only time I hail planets. Well, you can also hail planets to bribe your way to land.
Yeah.
But,
actually, I think you actually have to do that for an unfettered mission at some point.
Yeah, there's a few story missions that require you to talk to the planets to land.
Yeah.
24/7 says, okay, can auto highlighting by default then, because it is the left hand key and enter is the right hand, so it's unlikely to be accidental. I guess arrow keys are also right hand, so it's moot. Yeah, they're both right hand. Arrows and enter. As for why it's not already highlighted by default, it's just another method of making sure you're not like you're super sure. Like, yes, I'm doing this, because we wouldn't want. I think we wanted to avoid like some dialogues you can close by hitting enter because they're already over the close. Maybe it's only one button that says OK, and it might be reflexive in some cases where somebody says like they double tap T, accidentally demanding tribute, and then hit enter to try and get rid of it, but that's actually demanding tribute. In all likelihood, what we would probably do is have enter be like default close the dialogue, not accept it, which still doesn't resolve your problem. But I think, yeah, like I think the is planet already hostile check works for my issue. Okay, yeah, that's probably just what we'll do then. Gaming the good life. Not exactly planning on making my own plugin at the moment, but I am tempted to try and figure out how eventually. With the thought that I might someday, I realize that there is more information that would help with that. Are there any maps of every sector added by the popular plugin so that somebody who wants to add their own can avoid a used area? I think there is something like that. I don't have it on hand, but I've seen people post stuff like that around. So probably ask in plugin chat or content creating, and somebody will show that to you.
There's not like one fits all kind of map for that kind of stuff because there's constantly new plugins, and some maps are like a lot bigger because there'll be sectors around what exists in the game right now, and then there's plugins with maps like systems like way far away from Sol, like off in the corner of, I guess, the entire map image. I'm not really sure how you'd explain that, but there's probably stuff out there, yeah.
Currently, the info panel shows other X for others, for tributes and licenses, but when you hover over it, it doesn't. Actually expand the list like you would expect. Why are you expecting that? Yeah, that's not intended to be expandable. We probably could make those scrollable, though.
Mhm.
But that's a bit more involved. Have you guys answered the survey or responded to the survey for the last release? Because one of the questions was, are there any like UI changes you want to see? And these would be good questions to put in there. Now, granted, I'm writing them down now, but
Here, I can grab the link.
I will say the licenses section is kind of obsolete at this point. It used to be the case that not every license had an outfit associated with it. So you could have a license but not have the outfit and the outfitter. But now every license has an outfit. So you can just go to the outfitter to see what all the licenses you have are. So I don't know if it makes so much sense to keep that licenses section there. Although I guess like we can't guarantee that an outfit exists, so maybe that's why we would keep it there. But in any case, yeah, I could look at making it so that those are expandable in some way. Where's the survey? Question mark. It was at the end of the announcement in the announcements room for the release. And it's also on the Steam announcement at the bottom as well.
That's right. Oh, okay, that didn't work.
And then there's a completely messed up link.
Ignore that.
Brock didn't even edit the comment; he just nuked it.
Yeah, because I was. Hold on. Oh, it's not working.
All right. Well, while you look at that, I'm going to move on. The next submitted comment is not a question, so I'm going to skip it. We said last time we're skipping the meme questions now, so you're done. Please make an alien invasion campaign. Huh?
I don't think I answered the Gegno one.
Go for it.
There was a comment asking for when Gegno update. I'll just really briefly say I'm wrapping up what I had on it, but I still want to add a little bit more before I PR it, because right now I think it's about as half as what the successor PR is. It's like 2K lines, so I don't know if it's enough to put in the game quite yet. But
well, granted, did you actually see what all is being added by the successor pull request? It's not just missions.
Yeah, there's ships and outfits and stuff like that.
So don't go measuring lines.
No, I gotta measure lines. It's gotta be a lot. I gotta blow up GitHub. Like,
dang, that's crazy. Azure says I playtested the successor pull request.
It looks really promising.
Merge it now. No, I don't think I will. Otherwise, we're going to have to remove it in a few years. No further testing needed. Anyway, the question I was reading, though, was please make an alien invasion campaign. And Warp asks, have you played the game? Because that's literally the main campaign. And then also the Wanderer campaign has some of that, too. Play the game. Next question. When is Republic and Syndicate options for the main story coming? As we have said here, Republic stuff is in the works. Syndicate, not so much. Republic is probably going to happen first, then Syndicate after that. Unless I run laps around the Republic campaign at some point. Not going to happen, but it could. Up next, one mechanic I abuse is refueling by requesting allied ships for assistance instead of landing to save time and crew salaries. Shouldn't there be a credit cost for this if I have a high net worth / credits on hand and don't really need assistance? Or am I just a rude pilot? Thoughts? Warp says no. Anarchist says save time, in quotes. Yeah. The question is, so if you're in a system where you can land, but you don't want to land because that costs a day, you can just request for fuel for somebody nearby, one of the friendlies, and just jump the extra system. I mean, I think there's been talk of making it so that you have to pay to ask for fuel, but we're probably not going to do that. Azure says it's a convenience for the player. Warp says save in game time, but it costs real time. Yeah, because in real time, you're only getting one jump worth of fuel, which means you then have to ask for assistance in the very next system over and over and over and over again. So you are technically saving in-game time. You're saving a few credits on crew salaries because you're skipping a day, or saving a day, rather. But in real time, it's a bit more tedious. So in all likelihood, we're not going to change it. It's still going to be free to refuel. Also because of the fact that if you land on a planet and refuel, it's free. So evidently fuel is abundant enough that it's really not that much of an issue for random friendly NPCs to give you one jump worth of fuel. Because they can then just themselves refuel on the next planet they get to. What if there's a mechanism to steal fuel from disabled ships? And Warp says, is this satire? Yeah, have you played the game? Question mark. Show of hands. How many of you have played the game?
I thought this was a slideshow. I'd imagine if, and I mean we can always change things, but I'd imagine MZ could have added fuel costing money when he first made the game, because that's what EV did. But I think he made the choice not to do that because it was a bit not like lucrative, a little bit.
Yeah, it was more of a frustration than it was like an actual, improvement to the gameplay loop.
I'd be like having also, do you want to repair your ship? It's like, when would you not want that?
Yeah. Also, to Maurice, to answer why we were like, is this satire? It's granted, it's not obvious, but when you board a disabled ship, you automatically steal fuel from it. It's not even like a thing that it asks you to do; it just happens automatically. So if you have used a bit of your fuel and you board a ship, then like the next time you do, look at your fuel bar, and you'll see it jump up as soon as you board.
I mean, should we make a button for that? I don't know.
Probably not. I know that there is. Nick says perhaps you could add a log that says you took fuel. You probably could. That would definitely make it obvious. But as far as a button, I know that we have. There's a to-do item that MZ actually wrote down that was like, when you board a ship, you can choose how much fuel gets transferred. That would make it more obvious as to what's going on, but I think that was more so like if you are assisting like one of your escorts to give them fuel, or like one of your escorts is assisting you, then you could be like, hey, give me more than just one jump worth of fuel, because I don't want to have to keep asking you every single jump. Yeah, Warp says it would make sense to be able to control fuel transfer with allied ships, but hostile ships, why would you not want to completely refill your tank? Yeah.
I mean, one case I could think of that, if we ever decide to do this, there's always talk about like capturing ships and boarding them and changing ways how that could be less beneficial. One thing I thought in mind was, what if every interaction you have on a ship increases the chance for it to self-destruct or something go wrong?
No thanks.
That's a little bit, yeah, a little bit out of the scope of the question. Yeah, EV did do that. That's why I bring it up. But I don't know if we want to do that with Endless Sky.
Yeah. There's a fair few things that EV did that MZ was explicitly like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, making it so that you have to jump, like get away from nearby planets to jump. That was something you didn't want.
Yeah.
There used to be a license cost for various... there used to be a lot more licenses and be like license costs for everything. That was removed at one point. A few other things like that. And a lot of them, MZ was like, hey, I tried this out and I just didn't like how it felt. Didn't really improve the gameplay at all. It was, like I said, with if fuel costed something, that's more of a frustration mechanism than an actual like boost to the gameplay.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny because EV did not have crew in the same way we do. They had like outfits that increased your capture rating, but that was about it. It was just how much crew your ship had. It wasn't hiring them, or you board a ship and there's less on them and you have to fill the slots for it to pilot correctly and stuff like that. Yeah, Marine Corps. I could get 18 of those.
Luca trying to ask, there is a jump thing in Ringworlds, right? Yes.
There
the
is.
only place that we have departure distances in the game is you have to move outside of the ring world before you can jump out. But they're not. It's not like they're super massive, so it's not difficult to get out.
Ringworlds and my funny relay structure, because the idea. Plug your ears for a second if you don't want spoilers. The Ringworlds are supposedly hypergates, or that's the route some people want to take that for the Korg ships and how they're getting from ring to ring to ring. So, if that's the case, I mean, hyperspace stuff messing up your jump range. I mean, yeah. All right. Same thing with the relay structure. Although I'm not going to tell you what that's for.
All right. Well, there's no more submitted questions.
Sorry.
I was just saying there's no more submitted questions, so we might wrap up soon if there's no more.
Wasn't it a realism argument? How can you jump out the ring is that way? I mean, I didn't think so, because you could just fly up.
Fly up. No, I think it was literally just like, wouldn't this be cool? I don't even know if it was strictly
pretty
realism.
much.
Wouldn't this be a cool use of departure distance? You have to go outside of the ring to jump. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
I think arrival distances is a good change, though, because it changes the combat side of things up a little bit. Although I still think we need to fix the jump drive issue. That's a big one.
Yeah. That's one of those. That's been there for years. It's just like a factor of the game now,
right? Gaming asks, or says, I asked this earlier, but I don't think anyone answered it. What's the most interesting thing, alien feature, etc., that was added at some point and removed later?
I mean, how much has been removed?
Not a ton.
I know there's been a few mechanics we've tried that just didn't work out, and then we got rid of them. Like, there was somebody on Steam who said recently, like, hey, I haven't played the game since 2020. Like, what's new? Is it worth playing? And I'm like, of course it's worth playing. And I went through the changelog since then, just to, like, grab a few eye-catching updates. And I know there was, like, do you remember when we changed how overheating works? So that instead of completely disabling the ship, it just turns off your reactors so that you eventually just run out of energy. That didn't work out. We got rid of that.
Yeah.
Another mechanic that we had temporarily was so right now, if a carrier has docked fighters and the carrier has fully repaired itself and it has excess energy, then it will actually give the excess repairs and energy to the fighters that are docked inside of it if they need any, to help them get on their feet and deploy quicker. There was a mechanic that somebody added so that the fighters would actually give energy back to the carrier. What ended up happening was your docked fighters basically just became free outfit space. You could put reactors on them, and all that energy would go to the carrier. And the carrier didn't actually need to have reactors as long as it didn't deploy its fighters. And then you would just be able to fill the carrier full of, like, shield generators and massive weapons you normally wouldn't be able to support, just because like all the outfit space was going onto the docked fighters. Yeah. We very quickly got rid of that. Yeah.
I can't really think of anything besides that, though.
Yeah. Mission-wise, I mean, has there been anything we've removed aside from I reveal in terms of missions?
Adjusted, like the Bactrian line, although I don't really think that's really removed much.
Yeah, Warp says it was a massive buff to carriers, but not the one they needed. The most effective way to use carried ships was to keep them docked, and in fact, not even outfit them to be functional on their own. Yeah, like you could outfit them to be like completely immobile, but it didn't matter because they stayed docked anyway.
Oh yeah, sure. There was like a Korra first contact mission that I think MZ wrote that's not in the game anymore.
True, true. That's gone. We should re-out it. Yeah, I wouldn't be against it. I liked it.
And it just says there was some minor human missions follow-ups we cut down. I don't. What were those?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that's referring to.
Kara asked any ideas / plans for new types of drives, even basic things like hyperdrive, but comes out with extra fuel space or something.
No.
No, not really, because those are incredibly difficult to balance correctly, especially if the drives change how much jump distance you use. I know that's not what you asked, but
There are
we did,
certain categories of outfits that we want to keep intentionally simple. We
yeah,
don't want it to be the case that like right now there's already a lot of different types of outfits in the game. You got your thrusters and your steering and your batteries and your shield generation and your hull repair and cooling and this and that. If we made it so that hyperdrives or jump drives were unique by the faction that created them, that would just be one more thing. It's like, oh, now I got to keep track of which hyperdrive is the best and all that.
yeah.
Hyperdrives are intentionally simplistic. There's the three. There's hyperdrive, scram drive, jump drive. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Never going to change.
There, with the exception that I recall some people are saying if we don't change the balance of drives, then can they at least have unique sprites between each faction? I think we are hearing that idea at one point.
Yeah, we that was definitely talked about.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
the
worth
problem
work.
with that is that there are missions that look for like what type of drive do you have. Now all of those missions have to be like, okay, do you have drives A, B, C, D, and E? They're actually all the same thing, but they just look a little different. And then the question was, well, what if we add outfit variants to deal with that? But outfit variants don't really make sense the same way that ship variants do. So I don't think we should go that route. Whatever.
I thought for some missions that it's already taken care of. Like for example, the coalition missions, ready to jump around with the jump drive. I thought those check if you have jump drive as an attribute, not as the outfit.
Yes, those look for the attribute, but I'm referring to ones that like the unfettered missions where you give them a jump drive, and they just look at what drive you have to see if they need to replace it.
I see.
Like those would need to check a lot more.
Wolfwin asks, a couple of places in the story developed the idea of opposition to the direct segregation of other species. Will that be continued?
Coalition.
To the extent where the species will no longer be segregated, probably not. They'll still be separated by hyperspace borders, but the opinion of a species, like against it, probably. If we start breaking borders and like connecting areas in the game, that's all sorts of mayhem. People reading too much into the zoo idea with the Archons, with the pug and the Archons. Yeah, maybe.
Honestly, it would be funny if it was somehow possible to start on the planet with 0 credits and just spam spaceport until you get enough credits to buy a shuttle.
You ask a guy for 2 credit chips, and then you keep doing that.
Handling simulator.
Yeah.
Richie says improbability drive that randomly changes incoming missiles into whales or flower pots.
Hello, Daria. Are there any plans for anything like starting your own faction or something far into the future?
Nope.
No.
There are.
We don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plugins where you can probably do something like that. I mean, I know Ursa Polaris is probably the closest to that, where you have your own station.
Yeah.
But as terms of the base, like the vanilla game story, even though we do allow you to build a massive fleet with hundreds of ships that can conquer the whole galaxy, story-wise, you're still just one person. We're not going to make it so that you can like build your own empire, build your own faction, like take over territory. This just is not that type of game.
Yeah.
At least story-wise, it's not that type of game. Now, the
You're
tools are probably there for somebody to do something like that, but it's not going to be something that we put in vanilla.
Yeah, you're a cog in the wheel in the larger, greater universe of the story. You're not going to be your own free world or something like that.
I am this.
My perspective, the Jedi.
Darth Bobber asks, have you ever considered limiting the number of ships a player can have in a fleet? Maybe staged based off of credit or combat rating. Yes. But it would be a game rule.
Yeah.
Because part of the benefit of allowing you to have as many ships as you want is that you choose your difficulty level. There are a lot of people who play, myself included, with a small fleet or maybe just one flagship, and if you have bays, you could use drones and fighters. But not everybody is like, oh, I can have an unlimited fleet, so I'm going to make an unlimited fleet. But at the same time, I understand that there are people who want to have some sort of hard limit placed in front of them so that they aren't tempted to make a 100 ship fleet because they're just not even allowed to by the game. I do want to add a mechanic that allows us to limit how many ships you can have, but the vanilla rule set probably will not use it. We will likely continue to have it be the case where you can have as many ships as you want, just so people can choose their difficulty level. Like if you have a combat mission that's too hard for you, you can just spend a bit of time to get more ships, and then you make it easier, for example. Mm-hmm. But long term, I do want to add something that lets us limit things. And I mean, I did just merge the game rules panel pull requests.
Oh.
So it's probably closer than you think. There's some other stuff I want to do first. But it's probably sometime this year I will look at adding a fleet size limit as a game rule.
I'd still like to see it as defaults or like presets for the game.
Yeah, there will be a preset for it, but I'm saying like in terms of the default rule set that is
Okay.
like if you don't go to the game rule section to change your game rules, by default, you're not going to have to worry about a fleet limit.
Yeah, but it'll still be an option in the menu, not something you have to dig into the game files for it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Difficulty setting maybe for fleet size. Yeah, like so we always say how the game is balanced around like solo play or like a small fleet gameplay, so like a single flagship or up to like 4 to 6 ships. 6 is my favorite number because it does come from EB.
6 or
But
7.
that guy can't talk anymore.
I just shut him down.
But yeah, it's something like different. Like this is the default setting, the way the game's meant to be played, and then this one's a bit easier. There's more fleet stuff like that, more fleet size.
Evie. Maurice asks, would y'all be open to making more soul planets landable, namely the other gas giants and maybe the other main terrestrials? Potentially. Now, granted, I don't know if we would want them all. I mean, the gas giants Jupiter already requires gas lining, special ships you can use to land on there. If you didn't know that, now you know. You can land on Jupiter, but you need a special ship to do so. As for the rest, I don't know if you would want to have every planet landable just for the sake of making them all landable. Like maybe Venus could require a gas landing ship. Maybe Mercury could require a special ship in the future. but I wouldn't want to like throw 10 different landing locations at the player the first time they enter Sol. I think that keeping it to the current 3 of the Moon, Earth, and Mars makes sense. Remove Earth. Okay.
It actually wasn't the case that we could have more than 3 or 4 planets landable until a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, if you had more than 3 planets, well, you could have more landable objects. It would just overflow the UI, so you couldn't actually. It didn't look good. So we kind of capped it at like you can go for 3 and then nothing more. But then I forget who made that change. But now we have the planet cards you can actually scroll through, so it looks a lot better. And actually fits if you have more than 3 planets.
This game proves the Earth is flat. Flat and round?
Big if true.
Pick a side.
Pick a struggle, bro.
Flat or round, which is it? It can't be both.
Make stars landable. Unlikely.
Yeah, land kills player.
24/7 asks, is there in-game documentation on how much fuel ram scoops actually generate? I know it depends on distance and star type, but the only way to know distance is to use a tactical scanner on an escort, and the star fuel generation is like in the game files. It's hard to get a feel for how effective a ram scoop actually is when deciding how to use my outfit space. I mean, if you want more fuel, you have more ram scoops. There is a aspect to game design where we don't want to throw like every single little bit of information that we possibly can at the player, because the more information you have visible, the higher the chances of just information overload, and people are like, well, so much of this is just so unimportant to me that I'm not even going to look at any of it. So there is a virtue to having a simplistic UI and a simplistic amount of information that we give. As far as that specific ask of having some mechanism of being able to see exactly how much fuel generation you have, like you said, it's based off of your distance and the stars that are in the system. I know that at some point we want to probably add an advanced stats page, because that's been a long time asked. Because there definitely are certain things that would be nice to know about, but we don't want to have immediately available. So there would be a separate page of information you could go to where it's like, well, if I want to see everything I can, and Ramscoop information will probably be on there. But because of the fact that it's based off of distance and the star type, I don't know if we could give you the exact fuel gain numbers. I know that Warp worked on a pull quest that is still sitting there to have a indicator on your fuel bar and your energy bar on the right side of the screen that kind of increases the greater fuel gain or energy generation you're getting based off of your distance to the system center. But that was more of like a feely, like how far am I from the system center, not so much a exactly how much fuel am I getting. And yeah, as Warp says, that doesn't really have anything to do with the performance of the Ramscoop or solar panel.
I think we also try to avoid adding too many numbers and letters on the main UI.
Yeah.
It's more visual, image-based interactions.
Darth Barber says, could it be that you simply add a little number on top of the fuel bar that shows the exact number of fuel generated dynamically? I mean, the game is already keeping track of that. Potentially, but part of it then is would it look nice?
Yeah, I was like, what if you had you hold Alt or hold a modifier key and then a bunch of numbers pop up in the main menu, but that might look a bit messy.
Yeah. Gaming the Good Life asks, is there a place in the UI to see what ships are and aren't gas lined? Or whatever the word was. Nope. That's another one of those advanced stats that we would probably show off. Yeah. There's they'll tell you in the description. And there's only 2 of them, I think, right? Maybe 3?
There's the Encapia ships too, but
okay, yeah, I was like, I'm sure there's more outside of the Remnant. In terms of the Remnant, there's 2. And those are probably what you're going to use. Yeah.
But yeah.
Um, 24/7 says, yeah, something like this would help because when I test it, I just keep opening the info panel. I mean, yeah, but there is like another aspect of the fact that we don't give you like everything in raw numbers is part of the fact that some gameplay mechanics are meant to be very vibes based. It isn't something that you're supposed to have hard numbers for. It's more like you just mess around with it, figure out what feels nice, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I understand that you're probably the type of player where you want to have all the numbers, and that's exactly why you're asking. So, like, that whole vibes-based approach to just building things, it's not fitting for some players. But for most people, I imagine, like, this has not been a request that we've really commonly had. So for most people, it's just like, oh, I know that if I have more RAM scoops, I get more fuel. I'm just going to add RAM scoops until I feel like it's good. Like, for most people, evidently, that's fine. But for people like you who want a lot more numbers, that is something that we would like to at some point add a way for the people who want more numbers to be able to see more numbers. But like I said, it would be like a behind-the-scenes type of thing. You would have to open up an extra panel to see that type of information, because we don't want that necessarily in everybody's face all the time.
That's for nerds panel. Yeah. You get the people coming from like EV, and they're just here to shoot rocks and fly the game like it's an arcade game. And then you have other people who min-max who really want to see every exact stat in their ship and how efficient it is. I mean, even player info panel is kind of like that, but I'm just here to shoot other ships.
The nerd toggle. And the icon is a nerd emoji.
We don't want nerds, that's for sure.
Nerd react this user.
That's a lot coming from someone who has a species that gets really, really in depth to how nuclear interactions work. Things like that. It's all fake news.
Yeah, he just uses a bunch of techno babble and says it's realistic.
Deuterium. Ooh. Oh, wrong one.
Fine says a tick box in the settings panel to show hidden stats, as it were, would be a good between option for those who want/need hard numbers and those who don't. I don't know if we want to tuck it into the settings. I mean, we potentially could, but I'm thinking more like inside of the shop or inside of the ship info panel. Like, it would just be another button you could open up. That way it's visible to everybody, because if we tuck it into the settings, then it's only people who actually look through every single setting who are going to find it. Whereas if it's just one extra button next to the existing information, then everybody knows, like, oh, obviously that's there. It's one of those UI design discussions. All right, sure. Well, we've eclipsed an hour at this point. There have been no more submitted questions. Usually we go for an hour and change, so we'll probably wrap it up here in a bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I actually had a question. I was thinking about this the other day because I worked on it a while back. Ever since we added the turret blind spot and angle update to let you make it so turrets don't turn all the way, stuff like that, I had made a plugin called Arcover, where it added turret blind spots to every turret hardpoint on every ship in the game except for, I think, the successors right now. I was wondering if that's worth being a game rule. Probably not, but just like a balance consideration but maybe it's kind of getting into that realm of like realism.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I would not make that a game rule.
I do want to update it though, but I thought it was like a different take to the whole fast ships versus large ships approach, where a
Yeah.
fast ship could get behind a large ship or something like that. Seems a
Yeah,
little
Derry
regular for a
says it
game
seems a
rule.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing: we might design ships for the vanilla game that do have blind spots. How does that behave with this game rule? Is it that all blind spots on turrets are tied to the game rule, or is it somehow only some are? And then yeah,
I guess my question then would be
Warp is
what
right,
ships
too.
in vanilla would do that, because I remember saying that I might have done that to a Gegno ship or two, but I don't know. If we're not gonna have it sprinkled in vanilla, then I kind of don't want to add it just on a Gegno ship or something like that. I feel like if we ever do add blind spots like that, I don't think it should be specifically for one alien faction or a couple of ships. I think there should be like, it should be like we should like take a look across the board at something that could benefit from that, or change in a way that seems interesting or something. Isn't the point of a turret mount that it doesn't really have blind spots? Yeah, and the guns do,
well, somewhat.
somewhat, based on your engines.
I think the point is more so that it can aim independently of the facing angle of your ship, so you're not tied to the turning radius or the turning speed of your ship. Having a blind spot wouldn't necessarily nullify that, but it does make turrets a lot weaker if they don't have 360 degrees of movement.
You know.
Make Astros do explosion damage when destroyed that one-shot sparrows? Unlikely.
Sparrows get so much hate.
When will Derpy be fulfilling my request for a shader-based UI? I opened an issue for it. That's all you're getting from me. I started working on it, and then it wasn't working, so I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm going to do something else.
He plans to add a race eventually that uses entirely different type of technology, like the psychic relay stuff or bioengineering instead of metalworking. Yes, I know Doom, one of the other devs, he has a race that he like to add to the game eventually called the Nell Talk, and I believe there's bioengineering in that.
Didn't
So
the Weird Nut also start working on it in the gamepad pull request? Did he? I mean, he might have made a few more things out of shaders instead of out of sprites, but if that's true that he's like going down the route of making everything shader based inside of that pull request, that seems like a separate pull request at that point. I didn't look too closely at that one, and then it got closed. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to look at it.
a wooden ship. I'm gonna say it again, and Morp's gonna mute me. There was wooden ships in EV.
That's crazy.
I'm getting muted. No, don't do it. Ah. He's gonna wait till I start talking before he does it.
And then he left.
Oh, yeah, he left. Mm-hmm.
Bro ran. Bro threw a rock at you and ran. Spitball to the back of the head, and then he disappeared.
What is that?
Is this normal ES development practice? What in the world?
Someone inverted the sprite for Sagittarius A star. A white hole. Be cool if they're space fish. I don't mean to alarm you or anything, but there is a space whale. Oh, so you're the one with space fish as minables is your for that one system, although they're kind of just dead. Or at least it feels like that. Oh, hey, Warp's back. Give asteroids collision damage.
No, not happening.
Anything having collision damage is a disaster.
Yeah, everything would just
There's
blow up.
there's so many campaign missions that I think are in systems with a bunch of asteroids intentionally from MZ to help you dodge like missiles and other shots from carriers and such. That I think if you did those missions, since there's so many asteroids and they're really fast, it's just gonna be bonk, 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 and your ship will be gone.
Just be impossible to get through that system. Doesn't even need to be during a battle.
Unrealistic asteroid field.
Attempting to board a ship with collision. Yeah, that's how we nerf boarding. You just can't board because you bump into the ship. It would also ruin carried ships. Yeah, how do you deploy a carrier or a fighter?
The second it gets deployed, it blows up.
Yeah. Alright, well, it's probably a good time to wrap up here now.
Yeah. Give them 2 minutes for like fast fire questions.
Yeah,
Let's
rapid
go.
fire, lightning round. Ask your questions, then we'll go.
Ask a question. Make sure it's less than 500 words.
Yeah, not too out there.
Can I make a space hazard that heals you? Don't know.
Have any of you
Like it does
devs
damage.
watched Farscape? Nope, I haven't.
Nope.
When will the next chapter of the Avdi release be? I don't know.
Ask that as your guy.
Yeah, there's a guy with a carrot next to his name. We can ask him.
Can you make the kid more absurdly huge than vanilla? No.
It was.
Oh.
It used to be
Upfit
bigger
lost
than it is now.
teleport.
And then MZ was like, this is too big, so he shrunk it. If you know, you know. That's elite ball knowledge right there.
Outfits allow teleport within system.
No.
Jump drive? What do you mean by teleport?
Teleport within system. Like, you're at one end of the system, and you hit a button, then
Like
you're
a
at the
warp
other end.
drive? Like a mini?
Like,
No.
like you dash forward quickly? I don't know. No,
No.
probably not. Probably not.
It's called
No.
an afterburner.
Yeah.
Add a way of reducing self-destruct odds when boarding.
No.
No.
Maybe, actually. Would you like more self-contained stories in human space? All the time. If you've got an
Space.
idea for a little storyline, then go for it. And I mean, really, alien space could use a lot more self-contained storylines too. A lot of the alien factions, they have like their main storyline, but they don't have a lot of side stories, which is completely different than it is in human space, where like we have the one big main storyline in human space. But there's probably more side content in human space than there is like main storyline content. Just with how
Yeah, maybe
many
like,
small side stories people have added to human space. But
Wanderer, Remnant, or Coalition.
yeah,
could use
we'll always
more.
take more though, because
Yeah.
part of the idea of the story of the game is like, hey, this is a big galaxy. There's a lot of stuff to do, and there's a lot of people who, you know, they're having their own stories, and you just so happen to be involved in some of them. So there's always room for cool new little things.
Mm-hmm. We walked around with the splinter of a church for 6 years from the deep. Hey, if
side
you
stories
poke
and
yourself
aliens-
with it, you might get superpowers. What?
Yeah. It's got some like sort of crazy stuff in there. You turn into a pug. Side stories in
Oh,
alien
no.
space would be lovely since they could, in principle, be detached from having played Free Worlds. Yes, correct. I think that the Core Exile, or not the Exiles, the Core of Freddy have some missions that are unrelated to the Wanderer campaign that you can do before Free Worlds and before the Wanderer campaign. So more stuff like that would be nice.
Any more quests for getting high acorns? Getting the high acorns. I mean, they're
Do
good.
y'all want a billion hails? I'm pretty sure we can already generate a billion different varieties of hail messages. Like,
Honestly, I feel like we gotta watch how many hails we do add, because yes, we could have a random generation of it and they all like weigh the same. But at what point is the chance of your hail showing up going to be 10
next to
days
nothing.
real time?
I mean, that's probably already the case. If people add new hails, the odds of anybody seeing them are going to be so incredibly low.
Yeah, it's
Although
so
at the
low.
same time, I think that's kind of cool. Because, like, almost every hail is different then.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there are some that are like, it's the same formula of hail, and you can tell that it's just swapping out a few words. But there's definitely a lot of variety of hails in there, at least in human space, for merchants, and that's kind of it. And maybe pirates. Merchants and pirates are the two that have like the most hails to them. But those are also probably the two you see the most, and you would expect to have the most variety. As for everyone else, I don't know. There's a lot less variety in there involved. You should be able to link a Google API key to Endless Sky for LLM generated hails. No joke. I was talking to my boss a couple weeks ago about the game because he was like, "Oh, what do you do outside of work?" I'm like, "I mean, have you heard about the game I work on?" He's like, "No, I haven't." So I showed him the GitHub page, and I told him about like what I do and whatnot, and how the game plays out. And he was like, "You know what you should do? Be able to hook it up to an LLM so that it just generates mission code for you. Like you type in what you want and it'll respond to you." And I'm like, maybe. Not happening though.
No.
I didn't say it then, but I was like, nah, not happening.
Yeah, no, don't worry. We don't. We don't involve AI in our project.
Yeah, no. That would require quite a lift to be able to call the Google API while the game is running. You could certainly generate a bunch of hails right now, probably, but those would just be a plugin. Warp says there actually was someone who was working on connecting the game to a local model. I'm not surprised. Maurice says we should probably wait help style hails in human space so that we can still give tutorials to new players. Nope, not happening. We have had multiple people ask about having hails that include important information, or even like spaceport news that includes important information like tips and tricks. Not happening, because there are so many hails and so many like possibilities of spaceport news that if there is something that is important that we want the player to know, we should just give it to them through like a help dialogue or through the James missions that are basically the tutorial. We should not be hiding helpful information inside of some helpful information inside of hails and spaceport news. Now, granted, there is some stuff like merchants will say like, "Hey, try this out," or like they'll make a hint towards there being something interesting in a certain area of the galaxy, but that's not the same thing as like a tutorial message being thrown into the hails or the news. I want to add I like in my pull request they added wait to check spaceport options because people need to check the spaceport. We already have a mission that comes up if you don't check the spaceport enough. Is there anything in the game?
Oh, sorry.
Dude, we were saying that exact. Is there anything in the game that you think people would enjoy but have probably missed? Like a quest line or something that you can only pick up in specific locations? I mean, there's probably lots of stuff like that. And again, that's kind of part of the charm of the game is like there's so much content available to you that there's honestly, like if you're not playing for like hundreds of hours, there probably is stuff you haven't done yet. Unless you're like going into the game files and trying to check off, like, okay, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Which, honestly, I feel like that's kind of the wrong way to play the game. Not that you can't do that, but I feel like the game has a lot more charm to it if you just don't look into the files, just play through the game, visit the spaceport whenever you land, and just kind of do things as the game hands them to you. One thing that comes to mind, though, is probably the Emerald Sword, because it's such a small chance of it being offered after the main campaign. That's probably one that a good number of people, unless you know about the Emerald Sword and you're specifically looking for it, people probably haven't found that one. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to tell you. Like I said, Beat the main campaign. I think you have to visit the high, and then just travel around human space and just check spaceports. And you have to have completed the deep archaeology missions. So if you don't know what the deep archaeology missions are, that's the church wood splinter that Nick mentioned. Just land kind of like around, like close to the deep, but not in the deep, and check the spaceport, and you'll have a guy ask you about like checking out some stuff in the deep. Finish that storyline. Finish the main campaign, which is the free world storyline. Visit the high, and then just travel around human space. Eventually, that guy will contact you. You have to have also have done. There Might Be Riots. And
Yeah.
Okay.
You do. Yeah.
Do There Might Be Riots. You'll get them in, what is it? Near Tarzan? Or no, you have to be far from Tarzan. But it's like around that area. And then what else? Is it called Rim Archaeology?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, with Sad Archie. It has a lot of prerequisites to it, okay? But it's one of those ones, like, if you just keep playing the game, eventually you'll get it. And it's a really cool string of missions.
For what it's worth, there's not really many missions in the game you'd probably say no to anyways.
Yeah.
So just don't decline stuff. For me, yes, Hugs talk about his own content again. I think it's the aliens, like the rarer space life I made in my region, mainly the space whale. Not many people are gonna actually find that. I think more people found the space whale in the game's files than they did just flying around over there because it's really rare to see. Maybe I'll add more missions in the future that like have you hover around that area.
What was the last thing MZ added to the game that we know of? Question mark. I'm pretty sure he hasn't reappeared under a different name.
I don't know.
As far as the last thing he added, let me check. You can probably check in the.
The last thing he added art-wise was the automata.
Okay, actually, it's hard to check because he changed his account to an organization, so that means it nuked his personal account. MZ is DB Cooper. That's funny. Okay, the last update that he actually had any of his own stuff in was, I think, 0.9.9? Okay, he released 9.7 and 9.8 and 9.9 and 9.10, huh? No way. 9.12, 13. We started releasing them at 9.14, but I don't think he stopped actually contributing in 9.9. Which was 2019.
He wasn't contributing anymore. He was just reviewing other people's contributions.
Not even that. We were giving him the green light on when to push updates to the game. Like he didn't actually do anything after myself, DeHouch, and Pointed got commit permissions. That was it from him. Like he didn't add anything after that.
You looked him up and he's still making art? Oh.
Yeah, he's still doing stuff. Just not with Endless Guy.
Oh, this is from October. Wow, that's not that long ago.
Yeah. Check him out.
This is cool.
We love our extremely obscure ES space oddities. So true. We need more weird stuff in weird places on the map.
Ooh.
I mean, there's already a fair amount of weird stuff. You just got to go looking for it. All right, well, we've hit an hour and a half now, so I'm good to wrap up. All right, so thank you everybody for being here for today's developer campfire chat. A reminder that we do these the first Saturday of every month, typically, unless something comes up. So the next one will be March 7th. March 7th will be the next time we do this. If you have not played the latest update, because you're not on the beta branch on Steam or on GOG, it just said good.
No, I said do it. I didn't say go. Yeah, don't play
Yeah,
it.
you can. So you can opt into the beta branch on Steam to get all the new content and stuff. Notably, yes, we call it an unstable update. It is on the beta branch. There might be bugs, but it really, if you find a bug and let us know, that actually helps us out to fix things.
Yes.
Because here at Endless Sky, just like at every AAA game studio, you, the players, are the testers, not us. That's partially a joke. But no, legitimately, more people playing it and testing things out does help.
Break this stuff before it's live. Thanks.
Yeah. Unstable is just another word for normal video game these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although granted, if you compare us to like other like major game studios and their updates, like we probably have a lot less bugs. Unstable with a random chance to explode your computer. I don't think we've ever had a blue screen. I'll tell you that.
Didn't Warp's game crash like yesterday or like a couple days ago?
That's not a blue screen. Also, was a skill issue.
I guess.
What's the half-life of this game? I don't know. 3. But yeah. A reminder: we have a Google form that you can submit questions to if you already have a question and we're not going to answer more questions now, and you want to make sure that we answer it for the next time, you can submit questions there. And also, if you're unaware, we stream these on Twitch. I'm currently on Twitch right now, so that the replay will be there. And if you couldn't catch the whole thing, you'll be able to catch the replay there. And then Hector will also re-upload it to the YouTube channel we have after a bit. And all those links will be available after the end of this little discussion. Any other commentary anyone has real quick?
Like we mentioned earlier, there's also a feedback box for this release.
Yes.
Once you've played around with it a little bit, there's a couple questions in there we'd like based on some of the new additions this release, as well as for future releases. Some insight we'd like to have. So you can find that in the announcements in the Discord, or I also posted it earlier in this channel. So go play the update. Come back to that. Give us some feedback. That'd be great.
Yeah. Unlike a AAA studio, we listen to you. Like you heard, I was writing down feedback from earlier in the stream. I have 4 things written down. Does the no British English rule apply to New Britain? Yes.
Yeah, it like deletes itself after a couple of days.
All right.
All right.
Hope everybody has a good rest of your day, and see you next time.
Thanks for coming. See ya.